Alright, so I'm making this video because I want to talk a little bit about Diablo 3 Season 9 ending today, Season 10 coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to provide a little bit of summary of kind of my activity for this season, some thoughts on the upcoming season, and then, maybe a little bit of feedback. I know sometimes Blizzard listens, sometimes they don't. They kind of do their own thing. But I have some ideas that I think are just some good ideas to be implemented. So, firstly, um, a little bit about me. I am a player that I played very heavily in, when the game was first released in 2012. The first 3 or 4 months, all my free time was spent on Diablo 3. That game is entirely different from the game that we are playing now. Um, so obviously there have been a lot of updates. I've kind of come and gone a little bit since Diablo was first released. Let's see, I have my profile. You can see I played a tiny bit in Season 5. Um, Crusader and Monk. Those went to my non-season. Season 8 it was at the end of Season 8 when I came back, just before Season 9. Obviously, I didn't make a lot of progress when I realized that the season was ending very soon. I just went back to playing my non-season, and yeah, so basically I played a lot when it first released. I played in Season 5, and then just before Season 9 came out, I played, and I have played through the entirety of Season 9. Today it ends. I have one character. You see I made a witch doctor. I got him to level 2. I think I was going to play this character with my brother, but my brother ended up not playing much or at all, so I just deleted that character. But I've basically focused on just one character, the wizard, and you can see I have over 300 hours of game time in the last 10 to 12 weeks. Obviously that's a lot of game time. Not everybody can afford to make that much time to play. um, Obviously some of that was spent just sitting in game AFK. Some of it was just screwing around. It's not like I was playing super hardcore every time I got on. But with that said, even if I say 250 to 300 hours, let's just say 300 hours, that's a serious amount of time. And you look at the leaderboards and you see some of these accounts where people have spent over maybe 1,000 hours, not just on one character, but sometimes between several characters, and that's fine. Some people are making a living streaming and making YouTube videos doing this, and that's cool. Really glad to see actually that a game that I like so much, people can make a living off of like that. But for people like me, we work full time, we have other responsibilities, and our work does not coincide with this game. To be able to get in 300 hours is a feat in itself. I spend a serious amount of my free time doing this, and that's on top of juggling, work full time. I'm working on a master's program, and I have some other obligations, obviously. I don't have kids. I'm lucky. At least my free time is lucky in that regard. Um, but let's see. So I have some talking points here because I wanna make sure I don't miss anything. So I focused only on wizard. I wanted to make sure that my time was not split between multiple characters, because I knew that I wasn't going to have. Obviously, that's a ton of time, but I knew that I wasn't going to have as much time as I would have liked, and so I wanted to focus on just one character. I picked wizard because back in the day when Diablo 3 first came out, I played a lot of monk and wizard, and monk was my favorite, always has been, and my second favorite was wizard. Playstyle was a lot different, but I remembered just having an arsenal of spells at your disposal, being able to teleport all around the map very quickly. It was a lot of fun, and when Season 9 started, I said, you know what? I played Monk back in season 5, and it's on my non-seasonal account. I'll make Wizard. Keep in mind, I don't play PTR. When I came back, I hadn't played PTR. I didn't really know about any of these websites that describe templates or anything like that, so I jumped into Wizard not really knowing all the hype that was coming with the Wizard in Season 9. Now, as Season 9 progressed, I started to see, wow, there are some really powerful templates. And obviously, it turns out that the Elwiz was kind of a big deal. People were pushing greater rifts or grifts much higher than anyone's ever been able to do in solo before. It was very interesting kind of learning how to play the template and, kind of making it my own. I learned some nice tricks for making making the playstyle for this character more efficient. Um, a good example is using Energy Twister to pull everything in. Hitting them a couple times to reset your cooldown on Archon, and as the monsters start to walk away from your Twister, you black hole them to pull them back in, and then you Energy Twister around the black hole to pull more monsters in to keep resetting the black hole. It's great. It's a nice way to keep monsters tightly packed and slowly build up that black hole number so that when you finally hit Archon, you can just blast them away. So cool tricks like that. And keep in mind, again, this is coming from someone who has not played in a long time. My play has been very sporadic. So, lots of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and a nice coincidence that I was able to come and pick a class that turns out to be super powerful, a little experimental, and yeah, so my goals now for the next season are to, get further in terms of paragons, maybe even greater rift levels, but in fewer hours. And what I mean by that is during this season, I did spend a lot of hours just kind of, figuring things out, playing for fun, and if I could make it, let's see, right now I'm at Paragon 1264. If I can make it to 1,000 in just 150 hours, I think that's doable, but it's going to require more focused gameplay, not just screwing around, killing stuff, you know. Obviously, it might be a little less fun, but that's kind of my goal for the next season. I've actually tossed around the idea of just not playing next season because playing the Wizard specifically and playing competitively has been pretty stressful, I think. Some of my I want to actually talk about some of my complaints with playing the L Wizard, the Lightning Wizard. Some people think that, oh, it's a lot of fun because you're just able to mow down everything and dish out tons of damage. And if you look at the 4-man meta, the Elwiz is not even really there. So, yes, you can deal a ton of damage, but your viability for top tier meta pushes is still a little off. So, the people that really want to push that meta are probably not playing Wizard. And I think that my complaints actually coincide with other people's reasoning. One of the reasons, proccing the Manald Heal paralysis buff is super frustrating. It's so unreliable. Obviously, people try to stack their attack speed so that there are more chances per second for that Manald Heal to proc. But sometimes you'll jump into Archon, you've got your 4 Tal Rasha stacks, and you're ready to blow some shit up. But you sit there, beaming a mob of monsters that are sitting on this tight black hole, and your Tal Rasha just disappears. All 4 stacks disappear, and your paralysis hasn't procced once. And you're like, what the hell? Now I have to basically wait to get out of Archon, build up my cooldown so that I can get back into Archon and jump back into it and hope I get a paralysis proc again. It's super frustrating. Sometimes there'll be, if you're lucky, 15-ish seconds, but if you're not lucky, 30 or more seconds between the chance to even proc paralysis. You can build up your cooldown and play very efficiently, and you'll get to a point where your cooldowns between archons are much quicker, but it's still very frustrating to go sometimes an entire archon without proccing paralysis. My second big complaint is, if the lightning wizard dies, you need a solid 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds just to get rolling again. And the reason for that is your Swami carries over the stacks from your previous your previous Archon. So when you finally jump into your second Archon, those stacks, buffed with the stacks from your current Archon, provide an immense amount of damage increase, and lots of other things too, attack speed and resistances and whatnot. But, if you die, you come back to life, you resurrect, you run around, and you try to build up your Tal Rasha stacks, you try to reduce your cooldown, get back into Archon, and then you're working with only one set of Archon stacks. You're still not dealing optimal damage. You have to get out of that first Archon, cool down again, get back into the second Archon, and finally you're rolling. And if you're fast and lucky, you can do that in 30 seconds, but sometimes it takes longer. And worse yet, when you resurrect, sometimes your Archon isn't even ready. Sometimes you have to run around like an idiot trying to get that cooldown going, and you die again because you have no stacks helping to protect you, raise your resistances. You don't have the ability to teleport around if you're playing the black hole build instead of the teleport build. I know there are some variants that work teleport in there, but for the most part, people pushing into the 90s are not using teleport. In any case, the likelihood of you dying again and again and again and again once you have died is extremely high. So, playing the Lightning Wizard is actually very frustrating and stressful because you are constantly stressing about dying in the first place. Once you die, you can pretty much count on losing at least 60 seconds in a Greater Rift before you're rolling again. And then of course, my third big complaint with the Lightning Wizard is that proccing Unstable Anomaly causes monsters to be pushed back. You can't really crowd control them anymore with Black Hole or Energy Twister for a couple of seconds, and that's kind of a big deal. You're basically stalled on getting your Black Hole stacks, and sometimes because there are monsters spewed all over the place, you can't really run anywhere safe. So that's kind of a precarious situation that I found myself in a lot of times. And generally, I'm not very happy with Unstable Anomaly anyway. It's not like the monks catch all save from death, where you're just invincible for a couple seconds. With the wizard, even if you're using energy armor with the force armor rune, by the time you get to higher level 90 Greater Rifts, you very likely, the force armor is not going to make a difference. Monsters are going to be hitting you for a huge amount of damage that energy armor isn't going to be able to reduce down to 35%. And on top of that, let's say Unstable Anomaly procs, you get a 400%, you get a shield for 400% of your life, and monsters are going to be hitting you for more than that. So like my character here has, I think about 750,000 hit points. So if a monster hits me for 3 million hit points or up after Unstable Anomaly procs, or maybe I'm sitting on, a poison area, yes, that's about right, then I'll just die. There's really nothing you can do about that. Super frustrating. So now that we've been in 15 minutes into this video, let's talk about my thoughts on next season. So next season, I intend to play Monk again. Monk has always been my favorite. When I first played Diablo 3, I loved it, loved the playstyle. Um, I really like the banter of the Monk. That's kind of a big deal to me. I enjoy the personalities that Diablo 3 have given to each of these characters, and above them is the Monk. Um, Now, having played super seriously for Season 9, I actually have found, the value of playing a monk, especially if you're going to focus on just one class like me. So, the monk, unlike other classes, has high a high level of, I can't think of the right word, um, versatility in both, meta, solo play, um, or both support or DPS. Um, and by picking one class to focus on, that being the monk, I can easily gear for two different builds: the Z monks, any of the versions of the Z monk, and then the generator monk, and I don't have to worry about logging between characters and spending blood shards trying to build a template that I'm not really playing. So playing one build, and especially taking advantage of the new armory thing that's being released with patch 2.5. Just being able to swap between Z Monk or Generator Monk or any other builds that are that people are playing with for the Monk in Season 10, I think is going to be a lot of fun. The Monk has what is that? The Dashing Strike, which is kind of a big deal to me because playing with the Wizard for the whole last season, teleport, in my opinion, is broken. Way too many times I'm trying to teleport, it just won't go. It thinks I'm trying to teleport into a wall. My cursor's clearly hovering over the ground. Sometimes you have to try teleporting several times, and meanwhile monsters are bashing you. You die. Um, it's it just doesn't function the same way as Dashing Strike. And as far as getting around, Dashing Strike is one of my favorite skills. Another reason that I want to play Monk next season is I intend to play more solo play. By playing more solo play and giving myself a goal of reaching certain milestones in less time, I'm able to focus more on just farming keys, farming materials, uh, you know, running through greater rifts at certain levels over and over and over, just trying to level up. And I think the monk is pretty efficient at that. The wizard's great right now, but with the added elements of RNG, I think I'd rather go for something else next season. Um, so something else is next season. I intend to basically, do speed level to 70 as quick as I can. I know there are a lot of guides out there online on how to do it. If I can get it in a couple hours, that'd be fantastic. And from there, for me, it's basically going to be rifts, just farming rifts over and over and over. Um, if I exit game here, you'll see something I want to show you. So for my profile, if I go to season 9, and because I only played this character, really, this wizard, all of these stats are pretty much for the wizard. So, um, what I'm looking at is Nephilim Rifts completed. 1,619. It's a lot of rifts. Um, Bounties. I didn't think I did that many bounties. That's crazy. So, I have maybe like 13 keystones in my inventory. So what this means is that if I subtract that, I have about 1,600 greater rifts that I did, because those are keys I collected and then spent. Um, and so if I estimate, I'm going to do 1,500 Nephilim rifts, or maybe I even go higher. Maybe I decide I'm going to do 2,000 rifts or greater rifts next season. I need to collect those keystones so that I can do that, so that I can farm them and keep playing through the greater rifts. And there are a couple reasons why I want to front load my Rift key farming. One, all of the best loot that I have gotten in Season 9 has come straight from Rifts. Not from Blood Shards, not from re-rolling legendaries with bounty materials. It has been a straight random drop from a Rift, um, which is it kind of sucks because it shows how useless those other methods of getting items are, at least to me. Um, Obviously, it's a lot of it is RNG, but when I can run through a rift and get anywhere from 5 to sometimes 20 different legendaries and they're all randomized, if I know that I'm going to be farming those rifts to get keystones anyway, I'm just going to front load it, run through rift or after rift after rift, and hopefully build up a pretty good suit that I can use for subsequent greater rift pushing. Second, rifts actually provide a decent amount of experience in the early season. At the end of the season, when you've hit Paragon 800 plus, 1000 plus, whatever it is, um, that a lot of people reach, rifts don't really provide as much experience anymore. So by front loading those rifts, the keystone farming, you can very easily get up to above 800, maybe even 1,000 with your paragons just by completing rifts. After that, it's going to be a lot of greater rift focusing. If I'm able to farm up all those keys and get my paragon levels up, I feel comfortable with the ability to um, push 60, 70, 80 plus in the greater rift arena. Obviously, I'm going to have to do some greater rifts early so that I can level gems that I'm using for my builds, but for the most part, I'm going to focus on rifts early and then greater rifts later in the season. Um, okay, so now some feedback, and some of this obviously Blizzard has heard before. A lot of people are talking about these ideas. Some of these ideas I think are, well, one in particular I think is unique. I haven't heard anybody talking about this, so I want to present that at the end. I'll provide links in the description to kind of help you jump around to different sections of my discussion here. Um, the first thing, and this is a big one a lot of people are talking about, is being able to close a greater rift without restarting the game. It is so frustrating. First off, it's frustrating that people even have to rift fish just to get a decent rift, and I know, or decent greater rift. I know that Blizzard is doing a couple of things about it. One, they're changing the frequency at which super annoying floors like the sewers spawn or show up when you jump into a greater rift. Um, but two, they do things like publish articles acknowledging that rift fishing is a thing, but then just nebulously talk about changing the frequency that you get these bad floors. Um, so uh, here's a good example. I jumped onto Twitch the other night, and I don't really watch Diablo 3 on Twitch, but I thought, hey, I've been playing a lot of Diablo 3 the last couple months. Let's see what serious players there are out there and what they're doing, what they're up to at the end of the season. And all I saw was these top tier guys rift fishing. They're jumping into games in 4-player groups or solo and walking into a greater rift, looking at mobs, looking at floors, walking right out, restarting the game over and over and over. Um, I have a lot that I can say about that. One, it's kind of disappointing, but two, when I jump into a greater rift, even when I'm pushing a new level that I haven't gotten yet, it is super frustrating to see these bad mobs, these bad floors all the time. And all I want is an open floor. All I want is decent mob density. Sometimes I'll run through a whole floor and I won't see more than 50 monsters the whole way. And being able to close a greater rift without having to leave the game and jump back in, I think would alleviate a lot of the demands on Blizzard servers, but also alleviate a lot of frustration for players. Um, let's see. I have some other talking points here. Uh, okay, so this is an idea that I have not seen anybody talk about, and I think would be fantastic. And I know some people can empathize with this. Let's say you're walking through a greater rift, it's going very well. Maybe you're 75% of the way through, and it's only been like 8 or 9 minutes or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty good rate if you're pushing, because you'll have some time by the time you reach the end to kill the Rift Guardian. Well, suddenly things go awry, things are not going well, and you want to, well, before I get there, actually, let's say things start to go bad, and the timer starts to catch up to your progress bar. Suddenly the timer surpasses your progress bar. You realize, man, I've been in here for almost 15 minutes. I still have to kill a bunch of stuff. I've died a bunch of times. I have 30-second cooldown timers. I'm sitting here waiting to resurrect when I know I'm going to fail the rift, the greater rift. I don't really want to just quit and leave the game and forget all my progress. I just want to finish this greater rift and turn it in for the experience and get the items. But I also accept that I'm not going to be able to finish it in time or kill the rift boss in time. So my suggestion is that when you die, and this is another frustrating thing. You have 30 seconds to wait to resurrect, and sometimes it's like you only have 25 seconds left in the rift. Now currently we have three options. It's resurrect after the timer runs out. After the timer counts down, you can resurrect at your last checkpoint or resurrect in town. Now, my proposal is that you add a fourth option, and this option is always available. It says resurrect immediately, but then in parentheses, give up. And what that means is you click this, it allows you to resurrect right now, and it cancels the timer on the Greater Rift. It just assumes you failed. What that does is it allows you to kill monsters at the Greater Rift level that you desire, and not have to worry about waiting to resurrect or the timer running out or anything like that. It's also a nice way of allowing people to kill monsters at their level when they've well surpassed Torment 13 regular rifts. You could just jump into a greater rift and say, immediately, I'm just going to die and resurrect / give up, because I just want to kill mobs at my personal difficulty. So being able to give up / resurrect immediately would be a really cool feature. Another huge complaint / some feedback I have is the Blighter Rift Guardian. This is a guy. He's the bane of every build. When he shows up, it's just I failed this Greater Rift. It doesn't matter. I could have 10 minutes left. Sometimes you get lucky with 4-man groups. You're able to control them a little bit. But for the most part, your DPS is just hopping around looking for a safe place to be. And realistically, with Blighter, there isn't a safe place. And the damage that he deals begins before the animations do. So a lot of times, especially with squishy DPS characters like the Lightning Wizard, his poison will kill you, and then you see his arm in the ground and these little tentacles coming out of the ground in your direction. I don't know if that's just a matter of timing his animations or something like that, but Blighter just makes me cringe every time I see him. A couple other feedback points I've noticed is blood shards and bounties are completely pointless. And going back to what I said about farming regular rifts, like I said, every single piece of my gear that I got here has been a drop at the end of a greater rift or just a random drop from regular rifts. I I don't think I have gotten a single item from blood shards or reforging legendaries. I even have a video of me spending over 500 materials, 500 of each legendary material, reforging pig stickers just to get a decent one, and and not a single one was usable. I then went on to spend 10,000 regular crafting materials, basically upgrading rare daggers to legendaries. Finally got a pig sticker that I thought was usable. Um, in any case, next season I will not, I will not be playing. I won't be doing bounties. I blood shards I'm just gonna throw away into, um, like getting belts or something, and then breaking them down for materials. Uh, it's just maybe I won't even pick up blood shards. Maybe I'll just let it cap out and not pick them up because like it is it's just a waste based on my experience in the last 10 weeks. And you saw I had um, I've done so many bounties in my profile season 9 summary. I've spent almost 500,000 blood shards, done over 1,000 bounties. I'm not sure how many materials that works out to be, but all I know is both of them have been a waste. I don't know what kind of feedback I can provide for fixing those systems. Obviously, they're RNG based, but for me, I'm just not going to waste my time with bounties. Um, I see that Blizzard is doing something really cool by combining the two caches, and I appreciate that. But I think I'm just going to be doing a couple of bounties so that I can put some items into the Kanai's queue to use, and after that, I don't care. Um, so yeah, that is pretty much my Diablo 3 Season 9 summary, Season 10 thoughts. There's some feedback in there. I know it's a long video. This season I was able to get to Paragon 1264. Just another recap, right quick. I got 1264 Paragon. I already kind of went through my items there. I made it on the leaderboards. Was able to clear Greater Rift 98 with a great time. Um, when I first did it, I was ranked 72, but I was pushed down a few. Then Blizzard went through and did another ban wave last night, which is cool, and that brought me up a little bit. So, with any luck, I'll stay at 73 through the end of the season in the next couple hours. It's been a lot of fun. It has been a ton of work, and personally, I'm very happy to have reached top 100 on the leaderboards for the Solo Wizard after not having played a season seriously, at least this seriously, and looking forward to seeing what next season brings. Alright, thanks guys for watching and listening, and see you next season.